climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is a present reality that is affecting every aspect of our lives here in Zambia. We have witnessed the devastating impacts of floods, droughts, dry spells, rising temperatures, and changing rainfall patterns. These changes are not just statistics. They are stories of displaced families, lost livelihoods, and communities struggling to cope. Our project, funded by the United Nations Democracy Fund, seeks to address these challenges by strengthening the climate change advocacy capacity of civil society organizations across 5 districts, which are Lusaka, Chirundu, Chongwe, Luangwa, and Rumfunsa. Through training, stakeholder consultations, dialogue, and knowledge sharing, we aim to build robust frameworks for advocacy in the National Adaptation Plan process and the implementation of the nationally determined contributions NDCs.
Our project has made significant strides in building the capacity of civil society organizations in climate action. However, there is still much work to be done. We must continue to collaborate, advocate, and innovate to address the pressing challenges of climate change. So thank you for your dedication and commitment to this cause. Let us continue to work together towards a sustainable and resilient future.
This workshop is designed to educate participants on government priorities, as mentioned earlier by the Executive Director, and identify areas where civil society can contribute to the broader implementation plan. Over the next 3 days, we will engage in participatory learning and practices aimed at deepening our understanding of the National Adaptation Plan processes and the implementation of the nationally determined contributions.
So in terms of quantitative goals, when you look at our NDCs, the quantitative goal looks at reducing the greenhouse gas emission. It gives us 25% of GHG reduction by 2030 with local financing, and additionally it talks of 47% reduction of GHG with external or international support.
Basically, at global level, climate financing is either from public sources or from private sources. And contrary to what we might know, it's the private sources that actually contribute more to climate financing, about 58%. Public or governments usually only contribute up to 42%. So most projects you know about, like the GEF, the Global Environmental Facility, the Adaptation Funds, the Climate Investment Fund, the Green Climate Fund, all of these contribute to less than 42%. It is the private financing which contributes a lot more to climate financing. So this is why when we are talking about Zambia pledging that 47% of reduction should be by international sources, maybe we need to align our looking for resources more from the private rather than from the multilateral institutions that we have been getting much of our funding from.
Even though at the global level we say that we need to move away from coal, it has to be just. We have to consider our own circumstances, our own situation that we are in. So we cannot just say we stop, but we have to look at our conditions ourselves. Like already that we are going through the issues of power deficit. So for us, is moving away from coal going to be justifiable to us, looking at the circumstances? So there's that condition to say, as we transit, let's also think about it being just, it being fair, and it being orderly. So because of that agreement, there is there are possibilities that country can still continue using these emission as long as they are putting up technologies that are helping to use that coal sustainably and clean. And already there are technologies like the one that we are using in Mamba. It's a technology that uses this waste coal, and in terms of the technology is clean. So already there's those consideration to say it has to be just, it has to be fair, and it has to be orderly.
At national level, also have the technical committee of permanent secretaries. Then we have the Ministry of Green Economy, coordinate with the other sectors and civil society organization. And then we have the PDCC, the DDCC, and World Development Committee. So now, as we make the action plan, if we think through what are some of the activities that can be implemented at community level, at what development committee level, for us to help in the implementation of NDC?
We have raised quite a number of issues that are affecting Chongo district. And to start with, we have charcoal burning and deforestation. We also have droughts and floods, extreme temperatures, increased poverty levels, poor solid management, dry boreholes, which is a water challenge.
We have always experienced high temperatures, and I feel Chirundu would be a better place where a solar plantation would be put. On our implementations, number one, we are going to do community engagement. Number two, we are going to engage the local authority. Number three, we are going to engage provincial and national level, including the Ministry of Energy.
I think for Lufusa, number one that is outstanding is the problem of charcoal burning, which makes one of the most, and maybe I should say, one of the ways in which our people there are getting a livelihood. And so we're looking at some of the activities that we can embark on to help them. Number one, we're looking at capacity building. What do I mean by that is to find ways and means of training them to understand that the exercise of charcoal burning is something that is bringing nothing but a lot of detrimental program pertaining to climate change. So we are talking about capacity building, and this will be done through workshops. The people that are going to help implement these workshops, we are talking about the CSOs, the local authorities, and the government departments.
Our main need that we saw in Lusaka is waste management. So we thought of creating a green space, or to facilitate the establishment of a green space within selected areas in Lusaka. We're thinking of having a pilot of 2 sites that would run as green space areas for different activities, and these activities include trainings on waste management, incentives for waste sorting by different communities and households, as well as engagements in organic agriculture that families can practice in their homes, like sack gardenings and raised beds for those that have areas that are tiny and do not afford the normal regular gardens that we're used to.
For us, we first started with looking at some of the challenges that we have in our district. So the first one is wetland farming, indiscriminate cutting down of trees and reeds. Then we also have waste disposal in our rivers, because we have 2 rivers and there are also streams that we have in our district. And then we also looked at overfishing, which is causing depletion of species in our rivers. And then we also looked at not having strict measures or laws to prevent the cutting down of trees and also movement of charcoal into other districts.
We have the waste management. Implementation is sensitization and awareness raising by who? Local authorities, by waste management companies, WDCs, schools, area councillors, and Kafio Youth Club.
We have everything in place. We have all the information, but the collaboration and the implementation is what seems to be a problem. Now, how do we move from here? How can we get these people to do things together?
So I don't know whether the challenge is from the national level, the provincial level, but at the district level, you see people giving reports every quarter that are not answering to a national target or a provincial target.
As CSOs, we need to strengthen on advocacy for these climate issues. I think we need to involve the media when we are having some meetings with the WDCs.
You know, each community, they know their own challenges. So at least we need to involve them in the planning processes and even implementation. And I think we need to take the bottom-up approach rather than the other way around.
So we need, whatever it is that we are doing, what we are coming up, let's try our best to put time frames. I know if there's a place where you will find intellectuals, brains, it is the government. And now you wonder, why are we not doing better? Because we have these brains, those thoughts, these people, they go out there, they get whatever it is, but why do we have this? What is it in the government with the learned and keeping things not to move? Because the whole idea is that when it comes, it must go. There must be that flow.
I think it still goes back to just getting interested in what the other sector is doing and also just working together as a whole.
Doing climate change education, whereby everyone is educated on the effects of climate change and the solutions which can help curb climate change. I think that can also help.
In other circles, we say resource mobilization is about fundraising. So let's be friends with these institutions first and not just go and ask for financial resources. They will not give out their resources. But let's befriend them. Let's talk about these issues. Then from there, we start building the rapport with them. And the time we'll start asking for actual financial resources, it will just flow.
I think most of the things that come out from these communities, you have developmental projects like maybe blocked drainages, poor solid waste management. Quite all right, we can do tree planting activities, but do we have the incentives to maintain those trees? So if maybe this group can actually be used as a platform in which if those trees are planted, then how do we manage? We go about them and things like that.
We are guided by the ministry that 100% of the disaster component in the CDF should be allocated or dedicated to the community resilience building activities against climate change. And so this is a goodwill that is coming from your government, from my government, to make sure that from the component of CDF, some amount should be allocated to building resilience. Number B, there's also what is called the grant from the CDF component, which is the ministry is directing that 50% of the allocation as well should go towards the building resilience from the grant component. From the loan component, we are also told to deduct 50%. So in all these things, government is trying by all means to make sure that we work towards what we have been taught in this place. Furthermore, the ministry has also guided that activities eligible for building under the community resilience funds shall include the following, as I quote: provision of water for production purposes. Number 2, provision of irrigation facilities for small-scale farmers with irrigation pipes, saw pipes, tanks, and panels, etc. Number 3, the provision of inputs. The government has taken keen interest to make sure that farmers are given inputs on time. In this gathering, I'm sure that we have farmers that are coming from various communities, and so your government is making sure that seeds and fertilizer and all other insecticides are provided to you on time.
Thank you so much that you honored the invitation that we sent. And it was such a great time to have you here for the 3 days. I just want to thank our facilitators that have really impacted knowledge in us. I think we have learned quite a lot, isn't it? Yes.
We are so grateful that you identified us from our different localities to come and be part and parcel of this meeting. We have learned a lot. We have learned a lot. There's been a lot of knowledge sharing during the 2 days we've been here. We have collaborated and we have exchanged numbers. We are hoping that from this meeting moving forward, we are going to make sure that we enhance our collaborations and work together as a team to mitigate the impacts of climate change, as well as to make sure that we become a united force, because no man is an island. You can't work alone, you can't work in isolation. We need each other. Climate change is knowledge intensive, like we have learned, but with a willing heart and with a humility, you can learn quite a lot. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And on behalf of every participant in here, we want to say thanks a lot, CEJ, for the work you have done, and may God continue to bless your organization. Thank you so much.